Hey friends, welcome back to my channel. I'm Rebecca Rice and I teach family photographers to gain a life of freedom through a thriving photography business. In today's video, I'm giving you guys my best tips and tricks for speed posing for family photographers. Let's jump in. Now, before we get into all my tips and tricks here for posing families really quickly, I wanted to remind you, first of all, if you haven't liked this video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up and hit the subscribe button so that you know when new videos go live every single week. Now, I also wanted to let you guys know about a free posing class that I have just for you guys. If you're interested in posing, which I assume you are, you landed on this video, then this posing class is for you. It's called The Keys to Effective Family Posing. Goodbye, awkward, and stiff. So if you feel like posing is one of your weaker links or you really want to improve your posing this year, check out that class. The link is in the description here, and I'd love to have you join us. Okay, so when it comes to posing families, there are some very strategic things that you can do to pose families quickly. Now, if you're doing like a long drawn out full session, it's not always necessary to pose really fast, but if you're doing mini sessions where time really is a constraint, or you're working with young kids like toddlers who just don't have a big attention span, then posing quickly is actually a great advantage and a great tool to have in your pocket. So I wanted to give you some tools to help you pose faster so that you're more efficient with your time and just things to go really, really smoothly. So the first thing that I have for you is to use a posing workflow. Now, if you haven't watched my previous video yet, I walk through what my posing workflow looks like. So you can pause this video, go watch that one, come right back, because that's going to walk you through the workflow that I use for every single session. It doesn't matter if it's a full session or a mini session, any family session that I do, I follow this workflow and it just keeps everything going really, really smoothly. So that's my number one tip starting off, is you want to make sure that you use that posing workflow so that things, you don't have to think about what's coming next or anything like that. It just goes really smoothly. Now, the next tip that I have for posing quickly is to move your clients as least as possible. And I don't mean in a way that's like super stiff and awkward and you stay in one place, but I mean in between each posing grouping, the least amount of movement possible will help things go faster. So here's an example. We start off with the whole family together. So we've got mom, dad, let's say there's 3 kids, and I do my variations within that grouping, and then I want to move on to just mom and the kids. So I have everybody stay where they are. We pull dad out of the shot, and then I can work with who's here. If I just let them go all wild and then try to wrangle them back, it takes so much time, especially with young kids in the mix, trying to get everybody back. So I tell them, freeze your feet, dad hop out, mom and the kids stay, and then I can, make micro adjustments. Okay, you stand here, instead of having to wrangle them because little Susie is way over here playing with rocks and Jimmy's way over there playing with the grass. It's so much easier to keep them contained. From there, I can say, okay, great. Mom and the kids, that was great. Kids, stay where you are. Mom, hop out. Dad, hop in. So I'm having them move the least amount of times, because what would be way less efficient is if I said, okay, we're going to do the whole family together. Now let's do just little Susie. Okay, now let's do mom and all the kids. Now I want to do just Jimmy. You see how much movement there is? That takes up a lot more time than you probably think. And so we really want to make sure that we, are efficient with the groupings that we use. And that's why my posing workflow is in the order that it is because I don't want just chaos in between every grouping. I want it to flow as seamlessly as possible. Now, the next thing that's really, really helpful when it comes to speed posing is to get a lot of variety in a single core pose. And so I have 3 core poses that I use. I have everybody stand in a bunch, they stand in a line, or in some kind of variation of front and back. And if you have taken my posing course, you know what that means. But essentially, if I have the whole family together, I'm going to try to get as much variety as I can out of that single, core pose pose before moving on to something else. So this could look like getting different composition. So I'm going to get tight shots. I'm going to get wide shots. I'm going to get, some in portrait, some landscape, just lots of different variations, maybe different angles, me moving my feet while my clients stay put so that we bulk up that gallery without ever having to move. So we do our composition. I'll also do a mix of like candids versus posed. So of course we'll have everybody look and smile, but then we'll add in some variations. We may use posing prompts. I may have everybody look at mom, everybody look at, little brother, whatever. Everybody laugh at who's the funniest. There's a lot of different things that we can do there, but they all stay in one place, and it's just mixing up the gallery to get some candids. I'll also kind of pull into some detail shots where maybe little brother is holding on to the baby's foot. Like I'll get a close-up of that and nobody had to move, right? Or maybe we have a little girl holding mom's hand so sweetly. I may come in real close on just her where nobody else has to move, but we get that really sweet moment of them holding hands and it was very quick because nobody had to move. It's just me noticing the little pieces within the frame that I can capture that make a really big difference in the variety of the gallery. And then the last piece kind of in this is to incorporate a little bit of movement when you can. So maybe having everybody walk towards you, or you can have them walk and bumping hips with each other just to bring out those really beautiful natural smiles. But incorporating that movement, they're not having to move a ton. We're not going from this spot to this spot at, the location, but we're able to incorporate just a little bit of movement to add that variety in there. And I'm telling you, if you guys implement these things, changing up your composition, changing up your candids versus posed, looking for those little pieces, using the posing workflow and having clients move as little as possible, I promise you're going to see a huge difference in the variety of images that you're able to get in a short amount of time. And so I want to challenge you, give it a try at your next session. Go in with a plan, have your posing workflow together, make sure that you have a plan of different, variations that you're going to get with each core pose and things like that. And I think you'll be surprised with the variety of gallery you're able to get in such a short amount of time. I always tell my students, people when they watch me shoot, especially minis, they're like, how do you go so fast? I know that I'm able to get every shot that I need for a mini session in 7 minutes if everybody can cooperate. 7 minutes for a full gallery for them to choose their 5 images from. And so the extra, I do 10-minute minis. So the extra 3 minutes is just wiggle room at that point. And so you may not quite be there yet where it's going to take you longer than 7 minutes. Absolutely okay. But the key is to try to shorten the time that it's taking you to pose effectively so that your session can run really smoothly. And if you need to use extra time for maybe a kid's not cooperating or is, upset or whatever, then you're able to take that time to help soothe the child and not feel like you're going to run out of time because your poses take a ton of time. So at the end of the day, that's what it's for. We're not posing fast for the sake of just being fast. It's so that you have the flexibility in your session to cater to the family's needs, as they arise. And so I hope that you'll take this, use it in your very next session. I wanted to give you really tangible, practical things, and I hope this was helpful for you. So with that, I will go ahead and close out. If you have any questions, go ahead and then comment them below. I would love to come through and answer. And I have tons of resources available in the description of this video, so go check those out too. With that, we'll see you next week. Bye, guys.